Hello, everybody. News is breaking across the internet about P. Diddy and something about a grand jury indictment, something, something. I started reading this exclusive CNN article that they put out, and then I was like, you know what, let me just record it. So let me pull that up for y'all. So here is the article. Again, another exclusive coming from CNN. And this story originally broke about, I think, an hour or two ago, but it was just updated about 25 minutes ago. So it says, exclusive. A federal grand jury may soon hear from Sean Diddy Combs' accusers. Okay. Federal investigators are preparing to bring accusers of music mogul Sean Diddy Combs before a federal grand jury. And they are citing, quote, two sources familiar with the probe. Okay, so this raises the first question. What is a federal grand jury and what does this even actually mean? Okay, good question. This is actually the grand jury process is a procedural process that's supposed to protect due process or something, but it doesn't exactly look like the juries that you are used to. Usually juries like 6 to 12 people. And in a criminal case, a prosecutor would try the case before a judge. The jury would be sitting. And then, of course, there would be a defense attorney, things like that. Well, in a grand jury, which is what we're reading about right now, a grand jury has between like 16 and 62 people. And it kind of resembles a trial, but it is not a trial. A grand jury has a totally different standard of proof. It's not like, oh, beyond a reasonable doubt or anything like that. No. A grand jury process is supposed to tell you two things. Number one, is there even enough evidence for the state or the government to charge this person with a crime? Just to charge them, right? Not to convict them. It's a fail-safe. It's supposed to do a lot of things. It's supposed to protect the innocent person. You know, if you just don't have, the government just has no evidence against you, it really shouldn't be able to accuse you of something so heinous, right? So the prosecutor, in this case, I'm assuming a lawyer from the Department of Justice or something, is going to be presenting to these 16 to 60 or some odd people what evidence that they've been able to collect so far. So is there any evidence at all? Is there enough to support a charge, not a conviction? And also the point of the grand jury process is to determine which charges specifically there is enough evidence to go forward on. So from before I ever heard about this grand jury thing and the Diddy case, I know that there was talks of a S for King charge, right? That was one of the things that was spoken about by the Department of Homeland Security and all of that. So in a grand jury, you would need to determine, is there any evidence at all? If yes, is there any evidence at all to support that specific charge? Well, apparently maybe they have increased these charges. Okay. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about a grand jury. There's of course a lot of criticisms about grand juries because they're very, very private. They're not open to the public. The reason for this is to protect people who are witnessing at the grand jury. Like, let's say there wasn't, in some cases, right? Not P. Diddy, but let's just say in some case somewhere, there wasn't enough evidence to actually move forward with some charges. Well, if there's not even enough evidence to move forward with the charges, then it's not really fair to like besmirch and defame someone's reputation out there in the world. I'm generally obviously in support of transparency, but this is how the system currently is set up. This is how it works. So TLDR on the grand jury thing, the whole point of a grand jury, in particular in this case, would be to determine, number one, is there enough evidence being presented by the prosecutors to support them continuing on to prosecute Diddy in any of these charges? And the number two thing is which specific charges looks like there's enough evidence to support it. So that's what we'll be trying to get to during all the examinations that we are talking about here of these alleged victims. Let me show you what I mean. So the federal investigators are preparing to bring the accusers. Who are the accusers? The ones we know publicly. Cassie, Little Rod, Grace McKee, whatever her name is. Sorry, I don't ever remember her last name. Grace from the Yacht, Joy Nickerson Deal, the Jane Does, all that, right? All the different folks, the two new lawsuits that came. That's the accusers. And perhaps there could be some, who knows how many, that we don't even know about from these public lawsuits. So the federal investigators are preparing to bring these accusers of Diddy, so the Diddy accusers, before a federal grand jury. Two sources familiar with the probe tell CNN. Who are the two sources? I don't know. And that's one of the things that I don't like about how they're reporting on the news lately. But I guess if this is all they could get, I mean, CNN has shown that they at least did have some exclusive video camera access, you know what I mean? So CNN is saying that this is a signal that the U.S. Justice Department is moving toward potentially seeking an indictment of Diddy. It says possible witnesses have been notified by investigators that they could be brought in to testify in front of a federal grand jury in New York City, according to one source. Bringing individuals who have filed civil suits against Diddy before a grand jury would mark a significant escalation in the government's ongoing investigation involving Diddy. He's been named in 8 civil lawsuits since November, 7 directly accusing him of assault. One of the 8 lawsuits filed by former girlfriend Cassie Ventura has been settled. So one of them, which I think was the first one in this string, another lawsuit accused Diddy's son Christian Combs of assault, of which Diddy is accused of aiding and abetting. A spokesperson for the Homeland Security Investigators Agency declined to comment on the existence of a grand jury, but that Homeland Security Investigations spokesperson did say that the case does remain ongoing. These potential witnesses have not yet been prepped for testimony, cautioning that the HSI investigators are still in the process of gathering evidence and questioning potential sources of information in their federal probe into Combs. One source said investigators are being thorough and taking their time to make sure that an indictment, should there be one, would be bulletproof. The grand juries comprised of ordinary citizens are critical tools used by prosecutors, providing both an investigative function and a vote on whether to criminally charge the suspects, which this is just a reiteration of kind of what we said earlier. But here, the use of the grand jury signals that a particular case has moved beyond the preliminary stage, where investigators generally assess whether possible violations of the law are believed to have been committed. And then this section says feds have interviewed multiple Combs accusers. His homes in LA and Miami were searched back in March. At that time, he was the target of a federal investigation. It was reported. The investigation was by the Department of Homeland Security team that handles HT crimes, and the ongoing investigation included a focus on according to law enforcement sources. And it says here, now additional sources have told CNN that the majority of the plaintiffs who filed those civil suits against Diddy had been interviewed by federal investigators. Okay, so now the sources are saying that pretty much everybody that's filed lawsuits against Diddy, they've already been interviewed, at least by these federal investigators. Then they remind us that Diddy said that these allegations were sickening and it was people looking for a quick payday. So it says CNN previously reported in March, per a law enforcement source, that the investigation stems from the many SA allegations put forth in the civil lawsuits. But then it says CNN has learned that the scope of the investigation is now much larger, focusing on ST, money laundering, Robin Greenhill, Lou Taylor, ding, 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 and illegal. So I hope that they are named. I hope that they are defendants in this too. Innocent until proven guilty, though. Also, in addition to now adding on and tacking on the HT charges, they're also investigating narcotic smuggling and other organized criminal activity. Quote, it is much bigger than just these lawsuits, one of the anonymous sources did say. Federal investigators are now digging deeper, and some of the accusers have been questioned numerous times. A second source corroborates this current state of the investigation. Accusers who have spoken to federal agents during the investigation have been actively cooperating. Okay, so the accusers are actively cooperating, with some handing over evidence they believe may be helpful to the probe. And they're also bringing in new individuals for questioning, including corroborating witnesses of accusers. The evidence includes video that was from Diddy's residences. They're in possession of a video taken inside of Diddy's recently searched home. It's unclear whether the video was seized during the raids or whether the investigators obtained the video from somebody they might have been questioning. So it's not being reported clearly where this video came from. But it says they're contacting people that they found on the tapes. At least one male worker who claims he was victimized by Diddy has been questioned during the investigation. And that was coming from one of these anonymous sources. This individual was seen in footage that is in possession of the investigators. In some of the lawsuits against Diddy, accusers have alleged they were informed after the fact that they were recorded during having relations, and they did not give their consent to be filmed. Diddy has not responded to that specific accusation, but he dismissed all alleged wrongdoing in a blanket denial that he posted December 2023. But we know that this blanket denial at least is partially already false because we already saw the tapes from CNN that they released from the elevators. So what else is false? What else is he accused of that he did actually do? In some of the civil suits, Diddy is alleged of giving the substances multiple accusers. In the two most recent lawsuits filed against Diddy within the past week, so I haven't read these two. I haven't read these two on this channel. If you want me to read them, comment below. I will read them. I just kind of felt like people done read the lawsuits. Y'all could go watch some videos. But if you really are dying for me to do it, I will do it. Anyway, so it says in those two most recent lawsuits filed against Diddy within the past week, former fashion student April Lampros and former model Crystal McKinney both accused Diddy of giving him the substances. In the Lampros suit, she claims that Diddy forced her to take a certain substance and then demanded that she have relations with Kim Porter before assault. Diddy has not responded to CNN's request for comment since the last two lawsuits were filed, this Lampros and McKinney one. Diddy was also accused in a civil suit filed last November of intentionally giving the substances and SA against Joy Dickerson Neal back in 1991 when she was a college student. We did read that one on this channel. Though his legal team has filed a motion to dismiss portions of the suit, Dickerson Neal also accused Combs of revenge porn, claiming that Diddy recorded her SA. Days later, a male friend revealed to Dickerson Neal that he had seen it, according to her claim. Diddy's team did not respond to specific allegations of these substances or the secret recordings. But a spokesperson at the time did say that that complaint was made up and not credible. So a spokesperson at the time back in November, months and months, 7 lawsuits ago or whatever, a spokesperson for Diddy did come out and say that Joy Dickerson Neal lawsuit is made up and it's not credible. So that was the last they spoke on that lawsuit publicly. Diddy's team discredited the accusations and called them, quote, purely a money grab. In their motion to dismiss, which is still pending, Diddy's attorneys called Dickerson Neal's allegations false, offensive, and salacious. Let me see what else the news is saying about the indictment. That was the exclusive, but I don't know, maybe somebody else heard something else. Okay, so the lady who wrote the article, Elizabeth Wagmeister, she covered the Britney case, the Free Britney movement. And she was there when nobody else was there. I'm going to say that. She was up there at that courthouse with her notebook. Okay, let me see. She has posted actually a video earlier this morning, just a few hours ago. This is her Twitter. She posted this. It says, federal investigators are preparing to bring accusers of music mogul Sean Diddy Combs before a federal grand jury. Our exclusive reporting. Okay, let's see.
Since November, you'll probably remember that Combs has been named in 8 civil lawsuits, 7 directly accusing him of sexual assault. CNN's Elizabeth Wagmeister has all of this new reporting for Elizabeth. What more are you learning?
Good morning, Kate. So this is obviously the biggest escalation since those March raids on Diddy's homes in Los Angeles and Miami. We are now hearing that federal investigators are preparing to possibly bring witnesses in front of a federal grand jury in New York City. What we have heard is that possible witnesses have been notified that they could be called to testify. Now, sources do caution that investigators are still in the process of gathering information. In fact, they are still calling in new witnesses, and they have called in some witnesses.
It seems like that what she just said was basically just a regurgitation of the article. I may even cut some of that out. Let's go on and see what the co-host is going to ask.
About the evidence that investigators could be reviewing here.
So as I mentioned, those federal raids that were conducted on his homes back in March, obviously a lot of people wondering what was seized. Well, we are learning now that federal investigators are in possession of video footage that was taken inside of Combs's residence. We hear that these investigators have been contacting individuals that they have seen on this footage. One person, in addition to the accusers who have filed these civil suits, is a male worker. That is what a source.
Okay, so it does seem that this is a little bit of a regurgitation of the article we already read, so I'm not going to watch the rest of the video. I did just want to come on here, explain what a grand jury is, and explain kind of how it works. So TLDR, in conclusion, we're hearing for the first time from a pretty credible source, CNN, who already has shown some credibility in this particular story, having the exclusive, right, with that tape. We're hearing from them that there are more charges than just SA and HT. We're talking smuggling, we're talking money laundering, and then they just kind of threw this catch-all of like other organized crime. So what this grand jury thing is going to have to show, it's going to have to show this group of regular citizens that there is enough evidence to bring forward a charge against Sean P. Diddy Puff Daddy Combs of ST, HT, money laundering, whatever the case may be. It's possible a grand jury only finds enough evidence that's going to allow them to move forward on one charge, two charges, but maybe they find enough evidence to move forward on all of these charges. Maybe more evidence comes out in the grand jury investigation that causes the feds to charge with even more things or even more people, like, for example, a RICO charge, like the organized crime statute. So y'all just buckle up because I have a feeling that this ride is going to get a lot wilder. That's all I really had for this one. In the meantime, facts ain't defamation, and neither is reading a CNN article, girl. Love you, minute. Okay, bye.
Welcome into my world. You're playing my game. Thought that you could come up and they're fitting off of my knee. Talking out the side of your neck like you're insane. Cortisol levels to the roof. Inflame. Kids these days so shameless. Selling out real friends for a paycheck. Mama didn't teach them no home training. Wanna be me so bad, but they failing. Step to the plate though. I'll take a challenger. I ain't scared of no low life scavenger. I should warn you though, if you haven't heard, I ain't no Colleen ukulele ballager. Shots been fired. Run and tell that. Say it to my face though. Now behind my back. Won't be long till you share it in the group chat. And when I call you up, you're gonna backtrack. And you should've kept my name out your mouth. As we go, how it all turned out.